Welcome to Skinner and Chalmers' weekly roast. Today cold and dark, and a little bit of wish. A night market story.
Good evening, Memfield. Good evening, everyone tuning in from wherever you are in this strange and wonderful world. I am Seymour Skinner, and tonight I am wearing a scarf indoors because our heaters are broken, and because I feel that the scarf communicates something important about who I am as a person and as a host.
It communicates that we're short of handyman in Memfield, and the only ones who could come have such high prices that we would be bankrupt in a month. So, now we're all sitting here in our coats.
Gary, it's like it's December again, and December should be felt, atmospherically, on the skin.
It's April and it's 15 degrees in this room, Seymour.
Cozy, I'd say.
Anyways, dear listeners, as always, I am Gary Chalmers, superintendent, geologist, meteorologist, and man wearing two jumpers because his husband believes that ambience is more important than a comfortable indoor temperature. Welcome to the weekly roast.
And we have a wonderful guest tonight, which makes the occasion all the more festive. Joining us, as he does periodically, when he's not occupying his patch of the swamp, or every October, terrorizing visitors in Memfield Forest for the town council's seasonal haunting initiative and gets paid for, is our very dear friend Swampie. Welcome, Swampie!
Hey, yeah, cheers. Good to be back. Love what you've done with the place. Is that a new?
That's the painting. You noticed.
Yeah, the mountain one, with the lights above it?
Aurora Borealis. Seymour bought it for me at the night market. Must be, what?
8 years ago now. 8 years ago in December.
Yeah, I remember that stall. The painter was the tall one with the silver rings on every finger. She'd come up from somewhere in South America via Iceland, I think.
That's the one. She said the painting had been with her for 3 years before she was ready to sell it. Said it had to find the right wall.
They all say stuff like that at the night market, honestly. But your wall definitely is perfect for it.
Yes, but in this case I believe it as well. The painting has been on that wall for 8 years, and I genuinely cannot explain the way the light comes off it on certain evenings. Geologically, I understand northern lights, auroral electrojet, charged particles, solar wind interaction with the magnetosphere. I can diagram it. But that painting...
The painting knows things, Gary. It has seen things.
I was going to say the painting has an unusual luminosity for something painted in acrylics. But yes, also possibly that.
That's the night market for you?
It is. And it's always in December. The night market in Memfield is always a lovely thing, and we thought, who better to join us to talk about it than someone who has been there for, Swampie, how many years at this point?
First one I caught was, I want to say 1871, give or take. I wasn't really paying attention to calendar years at that point. You know how it is when you're a young swamp monster? Time's a bit loose.
It's correct. Historians state the first one was 1871 in Memfield.
Around there, yeah.
Seymour. He's been going to the night market since 1871. Can you imagine?
That is extraordinary. That is history, Swampie.
It's just years, mate. They add up. You stop noticing after the first 100 or so.
Well, maybe for a swamp monster. But for humans, that's the end of the line.
Sorry, dude. Always slips my mind that humans are so short-spanned.
All right, listeners. Anyways, for those of you who might be new to Memfield, first of all, welcome. You've stumbled into something special. The Memfield Night Market is a December tradition that has been running, as we've just heard, since at least the mid-19th century, possibly longer. It's held every December in the lower meadow between the forest edge and the river.
With stalls that appear, and I mean this in the literal sense, that appear. You go down to the meadow at dusk and they simply are there. I have never once witnessed the setup. And I've tried. These guys must be incredible fast.
Gary staked out the meadow in November one year.
I was there at 4 in the morning with a thermos and a geological survey map. The stalls were not there. I went home at 6, did go to work, and they were there by evening.
Yeah, you won't catch the setup. That's not really how it works.
Evidently, as it seems.
The people who run it don't exactly set up in the normal sense. They sort of arrive all together. It's like they drift in from wherever they've been, and the market just coalesces.
Coalesces. Gary, write that down. We need this word in the future.
I'm not writing it down, Seymour.
It coalesces, and it runs until 3 in the morning. Can you imagine? Only our producer DeZenzo is usually awake at this time. So, 3 in the morning, that's quite late. Which, for a school night, is frankly irresponsible, and yet I've never once managed to leave before 2.
Last year, I fell asleep on a bench at 1:30 and woke up to find Bartholomew sitting next to me having a conversation with a fortune teller across the path.
What were they talking about?
The nature of temporal consciousness. Bartholomew was holding a small paper cup of hot cider and nodding very thoughtfully.
Which fortune teller? Do you remember?
The older one. The one with the moth-eaten velvet curtain on her stall and the 3 cats.
Yeah, she's been coming since, well, before me she was there in 1871.
The same woman?
Yeah, think it's the daughter in 8th generation or something. But honestly, I've stopped asking those kinds of questions about the night market people. It goes smoother that way.
That is either very wise or slightly alarming.
Been of both, Gary, been of both.
So, Swampie, tell us about the first one, 1871-ish. What was it like?
Right, so 1871, I'd only been in Memfield for, a few decades at that point. I was young, relatively speaking, still figuring out the whole living adjacent to humans thing. Hadn't quite worked out that most of them were scared of me, or that this was going to become a professional arrangement eventually.
You mean the Halloween haunting every year?
I mean the Halloween haunting, yeah. Which, I'll say again for the record, not really my thing. I'm not a scary creature by nature. I'm big, and I'm a bit green, and I make a noise when I move through water. Swamps are not quiet, is the thing. It's a textural issue, not a personality issue. But yeah, I mean, it pays the bills, the haunting thing I do for the city every year. Children and teens love it as well, getting scared by a monster. That's what young folks like, I guess, before they struggle with real life. Not finding a job after studying at university for 5 years, can't afford anything and stuff like that. Let them dream while they have the chance to.
That's surprisingly deep, Swampie. And a bit of social criticism. You're defo the least scary monster I've ever met, Swampie, and I live with a talking skeleton and an inflatable swan who quotes Descartes.
Cheers, Skinner. Genuinely. Anyway, 1871, I was living along the river edge, keeping to myself, and I started to see lights from the meadow. Not the usual lights. Something different. Warmer. And there was music.
What kind of music?
Something with strings. Very old. Slower than what they do now. And I came closer, just to look, not to get involved. You know how it was back then? Swamp monsters weren't exactly welcomed at village events, and there were maybe a dozen stalls, lanterns everywhere, candles in colored glass, and the people moving between them were bundled up, happy, buying things, talking, and there was snow. Not a lot, just enough.
Just enough.
And I watched from the tree line for maybe an hour, and then a woman came to the edge where I was standing, this tiny woman, incredibly old, with a market basket on her arm, and she looked directly at me and said, "Don't lurk, dear, come and have some soup."
Just like that?
Just like that. And I was so startled that I went, and she gave me soup, and nobody at the market said a single word about what I was. They just treated me like a regular customer, and I've been going every December since.
Swampie, that's...
It's soup, Skinner. Don't make it a thing.
I'm making it a thing. Gary, I'm making it a thing.
It is a thing. That's a lovely story.
The woman with the market basket. I never got her name, but she was there again the following year, and the year after, and then she wasn't. Things end at the night market. You appreciate what you've got while it's there.
That's actually something I wanted to ask about. The impermanence of it. The stalls that change year to year.
Yeah, some are constants. The fortune teller's been there every single time I've come. The opera artists, they vary, but there's always been opera.
The opera! Oh, we must talk about the opera, Swampie! The Phantom of the Opera!
Yeah, alright, the opera.
The night market opera is, for those who don't know, not a traditional opera. It's completely improvised. The performers come in, they've been traveling all year.
They're a troupe that circles the world, apparently. They've been cited in accounts from markets in Prague, in Buenos Aires, in Cape Town. Always December, always night markets, always improvised winter themes.
And they set up a tiny stage, just boards on the ground and some lighting. Very makeshift, like a makeshift pulley system to get some random food from outside the window. And they perform for maybe 40 minutes, and it's completely different every year. Last year, it was about a lighthouse keeper who'd been tending a light that had gone out 50 years ago, but didn't know it yet.
That one got to me, I'll admit.
Gary cried, hard to imagine, listeners, but he has a soft core.
I was cold. My eyes were watering from the temperature.
Gary cried at the night market opera.
It was a very well-executed metaphor for, you know what, fine. The lighthouse keeper story got to me. Moving on.
I was there for that one. the soprano who played the lighthouse keeper. She had this coat on that went down to her ankles, and she sang the last bit without any accompaniment, just her voice in the cold air, and you could see her breath.
Yes, exactly.
And the whole crowd just went completely silent. You don't get that very often, that kind of silence, where everyone's holding the same feeling at the same time. It's like the feeling some Undertale music gives you when you're listening to it at night alone. But yeah, fun fact, I was in one once, the opera,
What, Swampie? You?
years ago. They were short of bass. One of their performers had twisted his ankle on the path down from the meadow ridge, and one of the troops spotted me in the crowd and said, "You'll do. Can you hold a low note?" And I said I'd never done anything like it, and she said, "Perfect, neither has he." And before I knew what was happening, I was standing on the boards in my coat with a paper score in my hands that was almost entirely just the word winter, written repeatedly in different keys.
What was the opera about?
A glacier that was in love with a mountain, very emotionally complex. I played the glacier's conscience.
A glacier's conscience.
I had 2 lines. One was something like, and I'm paraphrasing, "I have been moving towards you for 10,000 years and I am almost there." And the other one was just the word no, very loud, very final.
That's remarkable and geologically time-speaking accurate.
They gave me a round of applause after. The crowd did. I didn't know what to do with my hands. I bowed. First time I'd bowed to anyone.
And did the glacier reach the mountain?
No, that's what the no was for.
Ah, okay.
Geologically accurate, at least. Glacial retreat is?
Gary, not now.
Right, sorry, not now.
Let's talk about the treats instead, because I don't want us to get too melancholy. The night market is beautiful and a little sad at the edges, but it is also, at its heart, a party.
Yeah, absolutely. The food is great.
The food is extraordinary, the sweet stalls. Gary, do you want to explain?
Sure, there's a woman who makes something she calls Starfall Toffee. I do not know what is in it. I have eaten it every year for 12 years. I have asked her the recipe every single time, and she smiles and says cold and dark and a little bit of wish, which is not a recipe.
It is absolutely a recipe. It's a vibe recipe. A conceptual recipe.
You can have a conceptual recipe, Seymour. It's not.
And yet the toffee exists, Gary. Proof of concept.
The toffee woman's been doing that since at least the 1970s. Same answer every time. My mate Garfield asked her once.
Garfield asked the toffee woman her recipe, and he's your mate.
He'd had a yip yip, whoop whoop mulled wine and was feeling brave.
Oh no.
He asked very earnestly, and she looked at him for a long moment and said, "For you, dear, there's also a little bit of Monday." And Garfield said, "I hate Mondays." And she said, "I know. That's why it's only a little bit."
That's either profound or she was having him on.
With the toffee woman, it's always both.
I've had the Starfall toffee every year. Every single year. And every year it tastes different. Not in a bad way. In a way that feels like it knows what year you're having.
I've noticed that too. I've never said it out loud because it sounds insane, but yes.
You didn't say anything.
I was fairly sure you were going to construct an entire mythology around it, and I wanted to eat my toffee in peace.
Gar, why?
And I was right, wasn't I?
I was going to call it temporally sensitive confectionery.
And that's why Gary didn't tell you?
Moving on, what about the coffee stalls? Because I have to say, and I am a man who considers himself professionally above gimmicks, some of what comes out of those stalls is genuinely extraordinary.
Gary had a coffee at the night market last year that he talked about for 3 weeks.
I did not, and I can't say it enough, not talk about it for 3 weeks.
February, Gary. You mentioned it in February, unprompted, while doing the crossword.
The crossword had a clue about cardamom.
He talked about it for 3 weeks.
What was the coffee?
It was a cardamom and smoked blackcurrant thing. Black, obviously. The man at the stall had a little open fire, and he was doing something to the beans over it, a very short roast, right there in front of you. And then the cardamom was ground by hand, and there was some kind of cold blackcurrant reduction that he added at the end. And the result was...
Gary made an involuntary noise when he tried it.
I did not.
I was standing right next to you, Gary. You made a noise. It was small. It was dignified. But it was undeniably a noise of
appreciation. The layered, the way the smokiness worked with the...
He made a noise.
I made a small noise. Can we move on?
This is the best podcast. I keep forgetting how good this podcast is.
Thank you, Swampie. We work very hard.
We bicker in front of a microphone and occasionally something illuminating happens. But yes, thank you.
But yeah, the wild coffee concoctions. Last year there was one that had, what was it? Chili and orange blossom, and a peppercorn thing.
I had the peppercorn one. It's not for everyone. It sort of clears your sinuses, and then after about 30 seconds you feel like you've understood something about the universe, and then it's gone, and you're just cold again.
Brief transcendence through aggressive coffee.
Something like that, yeah.
I tried one, I think it was 4 years ago, that had a lavender and sea salt situation going on, and I want to be very clear that I did not make a noise. I simply sat down on the nearest available surface because my legs briefly became undecided about their purpose.
He sat on a stranger's blanket.
The stranger was very understanding.
The stranger was ArticTiger. He was blessing the surrounding meadow at the time, apparently. We didn't know him yet that time.
I interrupted the blessing with my legs.
And did the blessing still work?
The night market that year was particularly good, so I suppose possibly yes.
The Pope works in mysterious ways.
I'm still not used to ArticTiger being the Pope.
Nobody is. But here we are.
I'm happy with him. People jump and joy around him all the time. Now, the fortune teller. We have to talk about the fortune teller. Swampie, you mentioned she's been there since 1871, or at least the same family tree.
At minimum, there were night markets before 1871, I just wasn't there for them.
What does she do? For people who haven't been, she has the stall with the velvet curtain.
Moth-eaten velvet. Burgundy. She has 3 cats and a small oil lamp, and she reads. It's not tarot. I don't know what it is. She has these cards, but they're like nothing I've seen in any tradition I can identify.
The cards are blank when you first look at them.
Blank.
Until she hands them to you, then you see something on them. But she can also see what you see. That's the deal.
That is either a very sophisticated mentalism trick or,
well,
here.
I went to her, years ago, about 3 years into going to the night market. I sat down and she looked at me for quite a long time before she said anything. And she said, and I'm not embellishing this, she said, you burn things because you're afraid of getting something completely right and never reach that level again. And then she handed me a card, and on the card was a kitchen, a lit kitchen, and someone sitting at a table in it, eating, with the light on. And the image was, it was warm. Whatever was being cooked was clearly not remarkable. It was just food, and the person eating it was completely content.
You told me about the card. You didn't tell me what she said before it.
No, I didn't.
Say more.
It's fine. I've been thinking about it for years, and I think what she meant is, well, anyway, she's good at what she does.
she is, yeah.
I went to her once. I don't generally talk about it. It's not scientific proven. It's just unlogic stuff. But funny every now and then.
Gary, you went to the fortune teller and you didn't tell me.
It was a few years ago, when we were having a difficult few months, you remember.
I remember. Yeah.
I sat down, and she didn't say anything at all for a while, and then she just put one card on the table and pushed it toward me, and on the card was a rock, just a rock, very plain, gray. And she said, rocks don't worry about the weather, they make the weather eventually in a certain way, given enough time.
Gary?
It's geology. She was being very logical about it. Weathering, erosion, longshore drift.
Gary, no.
It helped. It helped quite a lot, actually.
You wonderful, infuriating man.
Anyway, she's good at what she does. We've established this. Moving on.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah, she is. Well, yes. The painting. Forgot my thought there for a second. Gary, should I?
Yes, tell them.
Right. So the painting. The one Swampie noticed when he came in. 8 years ago, I went to the night market. Gary had a cold. He'd stayed home.
I usually never stay home. That was a bad cold. And I didn't want to make it worse or infect someone else. So, please, dear people, if you're sick, stay at home. It's better for everyone.
He had a monumentally bad cold. He was horizontal. And I went on my own, which I don't usually do, and I was wandering the stalls, and there was a woman.
The one with the silver rings.
Every finger. Silver rings on every finger, even the thumbs. And she had paintings on a sort of improvised rail along the side of her stall. Maybe 20 of them. Different sizes. All originals. And most of them were beautiful. Landscapes. People. A few abstract things. And I was looking at them, and then I got to one near the end and I just stopped.
He described it to me when he got home. He came in at midnight, and I was awake because I was feverish, and he sat on the edge of the bed and just started describing this painting.
It was a mountain. I don't know which mountain. Somewhere Scandinavian, I think, from the shape of it. And above it, the northern lights. The aurora borealis. Green and a little bit of violet at the edges. But what got me wasn't the lights, it was the way she'd painted the dark. The sky between the lights. It wasn't just black. It had depth to it, layers. Like the dark had its own geography.
Like strata.
Exactly like strata, Gary. And I knew immediately, before I'd even consciously decided, that it belonged on our wall. It belonged to Gary. I don't know how to explain it better than that. It just was his.
He paid what I later found out was a significant amount for it. I asked him how much, and he said, an appropriate amount, and refused to be more specific.
Some things don't need prices attached. They need to go to the right wall. And I want to support real artists.
The painter said the same thing to you, didn't she?
How did you know that?
Because she says it every year. It has to find the right wall. But she means it. She does turn people down. I've seen her do it. Someone tries to buy a painting and she just closes that end of the rail. Very politely. Very firmly.
She turned down Van Gogh 2 years ago.
Van Gogh tried to buy a night market painting.
They had their eye on a seascape. She looked at them for about 4 seconds and pulled it off the rail and said, "Not yet. Give it time?"
Not yet?
Those were the words. Not yet. Van Gogh seemed oddly satisfied by this and trotted off to eat something from one of the food stalls.
Van Gogh is going to get a painting from the night market woman eventually, and I feel like that is going to be a pivotal moment in Memfield's history.
Might be, yeah.
Swampie, what's the strangest thing you've ever seen at the night market in all your years of going?
Strangest? Well, let me think.
And we have a high bar for strange in this household, so really go for it.
There was a year, I think it was 1923 or thereabouts, where one of the stalls was selling silence.
I'm sorry. Selling silence.
That's what the sign said. Silence, by the minute. And there was a man at the stall, very tall, very thin coat, tiny round glasses, and people would come up and pay him. And then they'd stand to the side of the stall for however many minutes they'd bought, and during that time, nothing. No market noise. No music. No wind. Nothing. I watched someone come out of 5 minutes of it, and she was crying.
Happy crying or?
Both, I think. She looked like she'd remembered something important. And the man at the stall just gave her a very small nod, and she walked away.
I want to approach this scientifically. Sound doesn't simply.
Gary, night market.
Fair. Yeah, science next time, I guess.
I bought a minute myself, eventually. Took me an hour of standing nearby and pretending I wasn't interested.
And what happened?
You know when you've been in a noisy place for so long that you stop being able to hear your own thoughts, and then something finally stops and you realize how loud it's been for a very long time.
Yes.
It was like that, but more so.
Was the stall there the following year?
No, never came back. Some of them are once only.
That feels meaningful. That there are things that only happen once. Things you only get one chance to.
Don't, Seymour.
I'm not doing anything, I'm just observing.
You're about to give it a name and build a philosophy around it, and we'll be here until midnight.
I was going to call it the once stall phenomenon.
We are not calling anything the once stall phenomenon.
I love you too. You're funny dudes.
We love you, Swampie.
Yes, what he said.
Oh, what about this year? What are we hoping to find this year? What do we want from the night market this December?
I heard on the grapevine that the opera troupe this year is doing something about a library that keeps books from the future.
Books from the future. Sounds like something Loomis would watch.
And the librarian in the play is someone who read all of them and can't talk about any of it.
That is already devastating, and we haven't even been yet.
A librarian in possession of all future knowledge, constrained by professional ethics. There's something very compelling there. The weight of knowing and the duty of silence.
Gary, you're getting the opera voice.
I don't have an opera voice.
You do, Gary. When something gets you interested, you get this deeper register.
I simply enunciate more clearly when I'm...
He's going to cry at this one, too.
I am absolutely not.
There's also supposedly a new stall this year. Someone who makes hot chocolate with a specific recipe from a monastery inn. I don't know where. Somewhere cold. And it's supposedly the kind of hot chocolate where you hold the cup and you feel like you're 9 years old again.
I want that. I want that immediately. Maybe with a pinch of yip, whoop as well.
You haven't even tried it yet, Skinner.
I know I want it, Swampie. That's a transcendent hot chocolate. You can feel those in advance.
That does sound rather good.
Gary wants the transcendent hot chocolate.
I want to assess the hot chocolate with an open mind and appropriate skepticism.
That means he wants it.
Yes. All right. I want the hot chocolate. It's always a nice treat, but I admit a pinch of yip-yippo. Whoop would probably make it better.
We will all go together this year then. Swampie, will you come with us this year?
Yeah, I'd like that. Usually I drift around on my own. Been doing it that way for decades.
Not this year. This year we're going as a group. We'll get the hot chocolate and the Starfall toffee, and we'll see the opera and Gary will cry.
I will not.
And we'll probably end up at the fortune tellers because we always do eventually, and we'll stay until at least 2.
1:30. My knees.
2. Your coat has good lining.
1:45. Final offer.
Deal?
Swampie, can we talk about the atmosphere at the end before we end this episode? Because I've taken people to the night market who've never been. I took DeZenzo once, actually, a few years back.
He didn't leave until 3:15.
He stayed until 3:15 because, and his words, not mine, he said, the night market doesn't let you leave until it's done with you. And I thought that was either the most poetic thing he'd ever said or the yip, whoop mulled wine had caught up with him.
Maybe both, but actually he doesn't drink any alcohol.
True, but he wasn't wrong, was he? There's something about the place. Something that happens when the lanterns go up and the music starts, and you're standing in a December meadow with your hands around a cup of something warm.
It's the combination of factors. The cold forces you inward, the warmth of the food and drink pulls you back out. You're suspended between the two. The music does something to your sense of time. The lantern light is low enough that your peripheral vision softens. It's a very particular phenomenology.
Gary, that's one of the most poetic things I've ever heard you say.
I said it in a completely scientific context.
You described the night market as a phenomenological experience of suspension between cold and warmth.
I was being descriptive.
You were, yeah.
He's a closet romantic, Swampie. I've known it for years.
I am a superintendent. I understand systems. Occasionally a system is beautiful.
He thinks the night market is beautiful.
I think a lot of Memfield is beautiful. We just don't say it enough.
I've been here for longer than any of you, and I'll say it plainly because I've had enough time to know Memfield is a genuinely unusual place. There are towns that are old, there are towns that are strange, and there are very few places, I've seen a few over the years, where strange and warm happen at the same time, consistently across generations. Memfield is one of them. That's rare.
That's the nicest thing anyone has ever said about Memfield.
You don't need to put it in the episode.
I'm absolutely putting it in the episode.
Yeah, thought so.
One more thing before we wrap up. Bartholomew, is he going this year as well? What do you think?
Oh, Bartholomew is going. He has been talking about the night market since October. He told me he's been waiting all year to see what the opera's about. When I told him it might be a library that holds books from the future, he stood very still for a moment and then said, "That resonates with me on several levels," in a very 18th century voice.
He once spent 20 years in a box in my geological shed. A library of the future is probably less disorienting than that.
How's he been, Bartholomew?
He's really well, actually. He's been spending quite a bit of time with Mary Baron von Floatsalot.
The inflatable swan from Luna?
The conscious inflatable swan, yes.
Right?
They've been having these evening discussions, philosophy mostly, and apparently Bartholomew has started teaching Mary some 18th century German garden songs, and Mary sings them back, which is, well, she doesn't have a mouth in the traditional sense, but she produces the sounds somehow.
The mystery of Memfield's dimensional convergence at work.
And last Tuesday evening I looked out the window and Bartholomew was sitting at the edge of the pool and Mary was floating and they were just there together, in the quiet. And Bartholomew's gardening gloves were folded neatly on his knee, and the dahlias behind him were the best they've ever been.
31 years he's been with us, more or less.
Well, with you since 1989.
He was very patient about the geological shed. I should probably have apologized earlier than I did.
You apologized, he said, and I quote, "Think nothing of it, Gary. The sediment was companionable."
Sediment was companionable. Yes, that's Bartholomew.
He'll love the night market opera. He'll absolutely love it.
He's going to cry, in whatever way a skeleton cries. which I think involves a very long silence and then a comment about the inherent pathos of the human condition.
That is how he cries.
It's how I cry too a bit. After 150-odd years, you mostly cry sideways.
Sideways.
You know, the feeling's there, but it comes out at a slight angle. More reflection than tears.
I understand that better than I'd like to admit.
Right. Well, listeners, that's us for this very cozy, very December, like April episode, very wonderful episode of the Weekly Roast. We've talked night markets, we've talked glaciers and mountains, silence for sale, star toffee, a painting that belongs on a wall, a fortune teller who has been there since before Swampie was a regular, a skeleton who is going to absolutely love the opera about the library,
And a superintendent, a principal, and a swamp monster who are going together to this year's night market, where I will be emotionally engaged by the opera in a measured and dignified way,
Gary,
and possibly moved to make a small noise by an exceptional coffee,
Gary,
and will leave at 1:45, knees permitting.
he's going to love every minute of it.
We all are.
We all are. Swampie, thank you so much for coming in. This has been, honestly, one of my favorite episodes we've done in a while, and I don't say that lightly.
Thank you for having me. I mean it. It's good to talk about it. The night market. I've been going alone for most of the last 150 years. It's nice to look forward to going with people.
You're not going alone this December. That's settled.
Yeah, thanks. Cheers, Gary. Cheers, Seymour.
Cheers, Swampie.
Cheers. I just want to say I love Memfield. I love this town. I love that we have a night market and a talking skeleton and a conscious swan and a swamp monster who once played a glacier's conscience in an improvised opera and 2 hedgehogs who committed accidental coordinated insurance fraud.
Say more.
And a goat mayor who eats rosemary.
Say more.
And a pope who is a tiger.
Say more.
And I love the painting on our wall, Gary. I love that it found our wall.
Seymour. I love it too.
Good night, Memfield. Go somewhere with lanterns this December. Stay later than you meant to. Have something warm. And if someone tries to sell you a minute of silence, buy it. Trust me, buy it.
I'm Gary Chalmers.
I'm Seymour Skinner.
And I'm Swampie. See you at the night market.
Goodbye.